Welcome to Cosmic Connection and the Cat Anders team. We are going to walk you through many subjects systematically. We'll cover many of your questions or concerns along the way. We'll then put it all together at the end of the reading and address any specific questions not covered at that point. The first thing you need to know is that your left hand is your past or inherited hand. Your right hand is your present and future. It does not matter what your dominant hand is. Most of the work we do is on the right hand. Sometimes we'll reference your left hand. Before we get started, let's give you some quick basics of hand analysis so it will be easier to navigate and understand the lines and marking in this reading. Palmistry is about 2,000 to 3,000 years old. In this 21st century, it is better known as hand analysis. Originators have gone through and named all the fingers and certain sections of the hand with names of Greek gods and goddesses or with astrological names. So, the index finger is the Jupiter finger. The middle or business finger is the Saturn finger. The ring finger is the Sun finger, some call it the finger of Apollo. Finally, the little or pinky finger is the Mercury finger. Now, your lifeline starts between the thumb and index or Jupiter finger. It will travel down around the base of the thumb. It represents your pulmonary system, your breathing. There are many other minor lines that protrude from, or touch on this line. We will explore those lines throughout the reading. The next major line is your head line. It spans across the middle of your palm, horizontally, and represents how well you use your mental energy, your intelligence. The third major line is the heart line. It spans across the top of the palm and represents your emotional status and heart health. Finally, the fate line, which starts at the bottom of your palm, by the wrist, and navigates up through the center of your palm towards your middle or Saturn finger. It reveals changes in your career and lifestyle. Okay, let's get started. Here's Anthony.
And we're going to start with the shape of the palm. This is actually your most important talent. And as we take a look at that palm, you actually have a long palm. This means that you're a philosophical thinker. You tend to kind of overanalyze things a little bit, kind of think them to death. But you're a very logistical or logical thinker. And that's one of your most important talents. All right, we're going to move on to your fingertips. And this is actually your personality. This is who you are. And you have a combination of different fingertips. You have round fingertips here, and then you also have spatulate fingertips. When you have those round fingertips, that means that you're a very intuitive person. You're quick, you're compassionate. You do quite well in the health field. Now, you also have a spatulate type of fingertip here, and that means you're intense, you're dramatic, you're energetic, actually quite adventurous. A lot of actors and actresses have these type of fingertips. All right, let's talk about the finger lengths. This is another thing that shows your talents and actually your abilities. Some fingers are long, some fingers are short, and they mean a different thing when they're long and short. No one gets shorted. Everyone has their own unique talents. Nothing's good or bad. They just have their own good qualities. So let's start with this Jupiter finger, and we measure all the fingers off of this middle Saturn finger. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But this is actually kind of your boss finger. When that's really long, that's kind of a leadership finger. Teachers, politicians, managers, supervisors have that type of finger. Now we measure that off this Saturn finger, and we draw an imaginary line right here on that very top flange. And if it passes that imaginary line, that would be a long finger. You actually have an average finger on that boss finger. It means that you could be the boss. You don't really like being the boss, but you could be. You're more of a hands-on person. You like to get in there and get that job done. So if you are in a supervisory type position, let's see here. Oh yeah, a teacher. So when you have that average finger, it means you like to get down in the dirt and learn with the kids and teach them at the same time. Now, as we take a look at this Saturn finger, this is your business finger. You want that to be at least 3/4 the length of that palm. And where you have a really long palm, you've got actually a fairly long Saturn finger. It means that you'd be good in business. You kind of know how business runs. You know how to make that work. Okay, now as we take a look at this ring finger, which is the sun finger, some call it the finger of Apollo, that's your right brain thinking. And how that works is you want that to come up at least half, just like this index finger, that Jupiter finger, and yours just barely makes it up there. So you're a little bit average on that. You're a creative person, but you also think logically also. Now, as we move down to this pinky finger or this Mercury finger, this is kind of your scholarly finger. And you want that to reach that bottom flange right there. And that looks like that does reach that. And when that does, if it goes long, it means you're a very studious person. You like to get in there and study the books and all that. When it's not a long finger, it means that you're kind of a hands-on person also. That kind of matches up with this index finger. It means you like to kind of get in there and do things. You're not so much a book person as you are an action person. Like to get in there and get it done. Okay. Oh, while we're down here, let's expand that. Let me make sure that that's in our viewer window. Let's pull that up just a little tiny bit. Now, as we look at the end of that heart line, these are your little flirt lines, we call them. That's actually how well you interact with people, and you've got some good flirt lines there. It means that you do interact with people. When we look at the fate line, even though you're, when that comes right down the center, you're really kind of a private person. But you've got a line that comes out here to the edge, too. So that means a combination. You're a social person, but you're really a private person deep down. That means that by the end of the day, after you've had to kind of deal with people, you like to kind of go home, shut yourself off, and decompress. All right, let's move on to the relationship lines. Let me pull up this image here. These are the lines that are on the edge of that right hand. Let's get that right in the center so we can see that good. Now, this is how those relationship or marriage lines work. This is your heart line right here. And then you have that ring around the Mercury finger, that pinky finger. You have a timeline that goes down through here. This is right around age 20. Well, actually, we split this up in thirds. So this is your 20s and 30s, 30s and 40s, then 50s and beyond up here. And that's just kind of a general timeline. As we take a look, we look at the horizontal lines that go across the edge of that hand. And your relationship lines are going to be a little bit lighter than what the marriage lines are. You can see, one, maybe two little relationship lines in there. But then you have this very strong marriage line. You can tell by the deeper color. Let's really expand that so make sure and see those lines. So this is probably the marriage you're in right now. And it actually goes along nice and straight. You don't see a lot of fussy lines. Oh, you see some little negative lines, maybe kind of a little bit of a rough start. You've got a little island in there. But then that line really evens out, and it has a good color to it. Looks to be a good marriage line. And then we don't really see any other marriage lines above that. We do see another line way up here in your late 70s. It looks more like a relationship line. It could be a marriage line. It's hard to say on those. We have to kind of, that could also be a renewal of vows on this marriage. You're going to find that as time goes along, if that is a renewal of vows, that these lines will tend to merge together. So, that's your marriage lines. Now, we're going to take a look at your children lines. Let me move my notes up here a little bit so I can kind of keep track of where I'm at. And how that works is we look at the vertical lines that come down off that bottom ring of that pinky finger, of that Mercury finger. And let's see, it said in your information, you've got 2 children. These are actually money lines that we'll talk about here in a little bit. But you've got these two very strong lines. There's a possible third line there, but we think that that might be a grandchild, because you've got the two lines here, then you've got a little gap, and then you got a bunch of lines behind that. Those are grandchildren lines. We don't usually count those in your hand. Those are better counted in your children's hands. But that first line right there, after the two very prominent lines, now that could be a third child, but it looks like it's probably a really close bond with that first grandchild. And like I say, we count those grandchildren lines in your children's hands. We've just never got a really good accurate read on those, but there's a pile of them there. Those first two lines are very strong lines. It looks to be a good close bond. Okay, we are going to, let's pull up this image of your right hand. We're going to talk about your money lines. This is the ones that everybody really gets excited about. Now, your money lines, or actually what these are is income streams, what comes into your household, they start at this headline right here. That's right around age 20. That's usually where we start from in adulthood. And they'll travel up to that mercury finger, that little pinky finger. And this will show you income streams. It could be from jobs, inheritance, the lottery, even though we don't have any specific lottery lines in your hands. It could be help from, let's say, your church, government assistance, student loans. If you get a student loan, that counts as an income stream. Anything that has an increase to your household. So as we start at the headline here, right around age 20, you can see where you've got several lines down here, about 4. That could be when you were in school in your 20s. Then that goes up. Now from this headline up to this heart line here, that heart line is right around age 45. So if you split that in half, that's right around age 32 and a half. So it looks like you've got about 4 lines going up there. And then that turns into a couple of lines there around 32. And then as you travel up into your 30s and 40s up to that age 45, it looks like that stays pretty consistent. Oh, it looks like one line stops here, maybe in your late 30s. Another one starts here a little bit earlier in your 30s. And then that just has 2 lines. We're actually going to expand that just a little bit more so we can see that better. This image is just a little bit blurry right in this area. Looks like it didn't have enough light on it. So as we hit right here, right around age 45, you can see where you have a little bit of a change here. And you've got where you had 2 lines coming in. Now that possibly could be a third line coming in right there. Then that changes right around age 45. And you've got 1, 2, 3 lines. And that goes up into your early 50s. And then you have another change here in your early 50s. You've got 1, 2, 3, possibly 4 there. 5 lines. And then that actually goes up into your 60s. How this works is this is age 45, like we talked about. That ring around that pinky finger is age 80. So right in the middle there is right around 62 and a half. So it looks like you've got several lines here going up into your 50s and early 60s. And then you have some changes here. And you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, possibly 7 income streams right there in your mid 60s. And those go up all the way up into your 80s. And then let's go take a look at 80s and beyond. Let's see how far your lines go up there. And it looks like you've got about 3 or 4 lines. So you've got some kind of a passive income stream coming in. Like I say, this could be from investments or inheritance or maybe some kind of a business or a lot of different sources for that. But those go there all the way up into your 90s. So it looks like you're going to be set up into your old age. Okay, let's take a look at your heart line while we're down in this area. And there's two things that we see off of this heart line. Your emotional status and your heart health. And your heart line actually goes along really straight. That means you're kind of tough emotionally. It means you say what you mean and you mean what you say. Kind of hold your cards a little bit close to your vest. You don't put up with a lot of games and shenanigans from people. But you have a little bit of a what we call a little bit of a curve here. So that means that you are compassionate. And when we looked at your fingertips too, you do have a lot of compassion, but you don't put up with a lot of guff from people. You're very matter-of-factly. Now, at the same time as we look at that heart line, it's a nice, clean line. You don't see any great big breaks in there. Oh, you see a little bit of fussiness right here, some little islanding. That's up there in your 50s and 60s. That could be a little bit of stress on that heart. And you do have a couple of little, what we call little stressor triangles right here. But we'll talk a little more about those when we talk about the spine line in just a minute. But other than that, it's a good, healthy heart line. Good, strong line. Now, another way to look and see about your circulation is if you look at your fingertips. If you have poor circulations, you usually have a kind of a blue tinge right here on the fingertips, and that usually comes right down in here depending on how bad the circulation is. But your circulation looks really good. Nice pink fingertips. You don't see a blue tinge to that. Another way to look at that is to look at your fingernail beds. Look underneath that fingernail bed and see if that's pink or if it's kind of a bluish tinge. And that'll tell you about your circulation. But your circulation looks to be really good. It's a nice pink color. All right. Oh, while we're down in this area on that heart line, we're going to talk about your intuition or your sixth sense. And how that works is we look at this area right here just below that Jupiter finger. This is your Mount of Jupiter. And this is your intuition. You want to see a nice little fat mound right there. And you actually have a very strong Mount of Jupiter. It means you have a good intuition, a good sixth sense. And what this actually is a connection to your guardian angels through your subconscious mind. Let's see if we have any. Oh, yeah, let's pull that up so you can see it. You actually have some little psychic X's there. Means you're a little bit psychic. Right there, right there. Means you kind of see, feel, and hear things before they happen. So you've got a very strong intuition, a good connection with those guardian angels. Let me tell you how that works. Is if you ever have a problem or some kind of an issue that you need to solve, and you just can't figure that out consciously, find a room that's dimly lit. It's kind of away from other people, free from distractions, and go in and sit in the middle of the room and clear your mind. Just wipe your mind as blank as you can. And then ask your questions. Ask them to your guardian angels. How to solve a problem. And do this out loud. Do it very audibly. And then just sit there and kind of ponder. And after a few minutes, get up and walk away. Walk away for about an hour. Get about your day and just put it completely out of your mind. What this does is let your subconscious mind work on that and get that connection with your guardian angels. And they'll help you solve that problem. When you come back in about an hour, sit down and do the same thing. Ask the questions and then be still, be quiet, and let your mind kind of work on that, and you'll get your answer. It might be a small, still voice in the back of your mind, but you'll get your answer because you've got a very strong connection. This actually works very well at night. If you'll do this just before you go to bed, and as you wake in the morning, you'll find your answer to the problem. Okay, we are now going to talk about your headline. And what this headline represents is how well you use your mental energy. The straighter across the palm that goes, the better you use that mental energy. And as we examine your headline goes really straight across the palm of your hand. Oh my gosh. I haven't seen one go across the palm this straight for quite a while. That means you've got an excellent use of that mental energy, a good clarity of mind. You don't see any big breaks in the line. You don't see any interruptions. And a lot of times we'll usually see this line, especially with people that are compassionate, a little bit tough emotionally. We'll see a little bit of a dip here, but yours goes pretty straight across here. It does dip just a little tiny bit. And that can indicate a little bit of anxiety sometimes. But we'll talk about that when we talk about the spine line here in just a minute. But other than that, a very strong headline. And that lends itself to your intelligence. You're actually very intelligent. Now, while we're down on this headline, this is also your spine line right here. It just has other different markings on the line that shows the condition of your spine. And a lot of people have asked us, well, what does the spine line got to do with the hand, and why would anybody really care? Well, I'll tell you, years ago when Kat was getting her master's degree in health education, and she was studying palmistry also, hand analysis, she had come across a book by a Dr. Eugene Scheiman. This is an old medical doctor from back in the day, back in the like 40s to 60s. And he had written several books about palmistry. One of his most famous ones is Medical Palmistry. And he talks about in the book how you can actually see the condition of your spine in your hand. And she had done a lot of research over the years about that. And we find these markings to actually be very accurate. When she has done charts, we've sent them along with people to go see their doctor or chiropractor or whoever they see about that spinal condition. And they were amazed at how accurate these charts are. So how this works is along this headline, we're looking for little anomalies, little islands, or little triangles. Now, this could be a lot of different conditions. They could just be turned out of place or a little bit of misalignment, or it could be things like scoliosis, just a lot of different things, or maybe an accident, some damage or something like that in the spine. Let's see in your information. Oh, you didn't say if you had any damage to that spine or not. And to tell you the truth, these lines are very subtle in your hand, so we imagine that you're just maybe turned out of place a little bit in that spine. And how that works is underneath this Jupiter finger, kind of right here between that and that Saturn finger, this is your cervical spine, that neck area. Then as we move over between these two fingers and between your ring finger and your pinky finger, we come down. That's your thoracic spine there. Let's move this image up a little bit. And then as you get over here, this is your lumbar area, down in that hip region. And then, of course, the sacrum and coccyx, that little tailbone down in this area. So we're looking for little triangles like this. And that shows that you might have some issues with those little vertebrae or discs. And let's do this. Let's pull up this chart. And the reason why we kind of spend a little bit of time on this is because if you don't have that energy flowing down through that spine correctly, if you have like a pinched nerve or an interruption in that, you just don't feel well. Something's kind of off. And a lot of times you can have these out of place and you don't feel any pain or you just don't feel well. You don't feel like you're 100% all the time. That can cause a little bit of brain fog or make it hard to concentrate sometimes. So what we've seen in your hand is in this cervical area, in that neck area, that 4C down to the 7C. Let me pull that image up and show you what we're talking about. Let's see, the right hand, and this is in the right hand only. So as we come down between these two fingers, that's your neck area. Coming around here, that's 1C, 2C, and then we get down to 7C right here. So we can see some little islanding there. And let me pull up that spine image again. You can see that right here. At 4C down to the 7C. It looks like you've got some little issues right there, about the middle of the neck down. And then as you get down here towards what's called the Dowager's Hump, that's that little hump you see in people, a lot of older people's necks when they're like in their 90s and they're all bent over at the neck. That's that Dowager's Hump. That's when your thoracic spine starts. And it looks like you've got some little markings there, that 1T down to the 7T. Let's pull that right-hand image up again. That's it. Comes down into this area. You can see some little triangles here, a little bit of anomalies. And like I say, these could just be turned out of place. Just a little bit misaligned. And that goes all the way down, kind of the small of your back. And then as you get down here into your hip region, that's that 11T and 12T. That's the bottom part of that thoracic spine. And then you get down here into that lumbar region. That's in that hip area. It looks like you've got a couple of little anomalies there. And then it doesn't look too bad down there into that sacrum and coccyx. Then if you want to go over to the areas column, this shows you the parts of the body that are affected when you've got different things going on in that spine, and that energy is not quite going down there at the 100% efficiency. So like a 7C, that'd be thyroid and different things. And then if we move over to the right, you can see the effects column. That'll show you what kind of symptoms you can have. And if you remember when we were talking about that heart line, let's pull up the, whoops, not that image. We want the right-hand image. We talked about some little stressor triangles in the hand there on that heart line. That's right here. That's shows generally that 2T area is out of place, where you've got an issue with that vertebrae or disc underneath there. And that can cause a little bit of chronic fatigue, a little bit of anxiety. It means that heart's working just a little bit harder than it needs to. Putting a little bit of pressure on there. So you can look up and down this chart, and anything that you have that you can think of, that's how that's affected by some of those vertebrae or discs having some issues with them. Probably just kind of turned out of place. So I'll tell you what we usually suggest is to get into a good chiropractor, or better yet, a good physical therapist. See if they can't get that realigned, get that energy flowing down through that spine correctly. And you're just going to find that when you do get that done, you're just going to have so much more energy and so much more ambition during the day to get things done. All right, let me look at my notes here. We are going to move on to your health line. Let's pull up this image here. Now, where we find these markings is right here. It's about the center of your palm, and these lines go up there towards that pinky finger. This is actually the health of your internal organs, and more specifically that digestive system. And you want just one line going up there towards that pinky finger. And you've got kind of some overlapping lines here, a little bit of fussiness there. It doesn't look real bad. And that can indicate a little bit of stress on those internal organs, on that digestive system. But we kind of seen that in that spine chart down in this area right here into your, you can see that's your digestive system, the intestinal tract. So once you get in there and get that spine adjusted, you're going to find that these lines actually clean up pretty good. Okay, we're going to talk about your guardian angels here for a minute. We get really excited about this sometimes because we're so accurate on these guardian angel lines. We've got a lot of feedback from different clients saying how accurate those lines are. So in your left hand, This will show you who your guardian angels are. And the right hand we'll go to in a minute. Will show you if you've had visits or protection or any kind of interaction with those guardian angels. So how this works, let's see, let's expand that down just a little bit. Images are getting a little bit squirrely on me here. As we go down around that lifeline, it goes down around that thumb, and from the edge of that hand, from the edge of the palm actually, and there's a timeline on there. That timeline starts right here at age 10 and goes around down the palm. We come up between these two fingers and we draw an imaginary line down here. That's right around age 20, 21. And that goes through your 20s and 30s. And then as you get down here and that line breaks, that gets into your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, up around the back of the palm. So that's how that timeline works. And what we're looking for is little lines that come up and they touch on that lifeline. And then as they touch on that lifeline, there'll be a third dissecting line. And what these lines show is a death of a loved one. So let's say your grandpa or grandma, parents, great-grandparents, cousins, aunties, uncles. It shows how old you were when they passed away. And it also suggests that those people had a good bond with you, or they at least knew who you were, and they cared for you a lot. They cared about your well-being. So let's pull this up so we can see just a little better. Those lines are a little bit faint sometimes. So let's start right here at age 10, and then 11. You can see you've got a couple of lines there, actually, a couple of guardian angel lines, that little dissecting line. So whoever passed away when you were 11 years old is a guardian angel to you. Then as we go along, we're going to look at, the lines have to come up and touch on that heart line, then have that dissecting line. So right there around 11, 12, and 13, you've actually got 3 guardian angel lines that come up in here. So that's actually a group of your loved ones. Then the next line we have is right here. It comes up and touches. So let's kind of count that out. 11, about an eighth of an inch for every year. So 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Right there around age 20, like I say, we come down with this imaginary line. It looks like it could be 19 or 20. Right there in that range. And that's a good guardian angel line. They stay with you all the way into your late 30s, looks like. Very strong line. That'd be in that 19 to 21 range, right in that area. Then let's see if you have any other ones here. We'll only go to your age that you are now to, let's see, was age 33. This could be one right here. Maybe around age 22, 23. It's a little guardian angel line that comes up there. And then we don't see any others there in your 30s. So that's who your guardian angels are. Sometimes you have to kind of think about that, and you might have to get together with some relatives to see when they passed away and how old you were when that happened. But that's how you determine who your guardian angels are. Okay, let's go over to your right hand, and we will see if you've had any visits. Or interaction with guardian angels. And these lines are really light, so let's move in. We go on the same timeline down around that lifeline that we did on the left hand. We start at age 10, and these lines aren't going to have a dissecting line. They're just going to come up and touch on that lifeline. And as we come around here, so that's 10, 11, 12, it looks like you've got some interaction there from a couple, 3 different guardian angels. Did you have a situation in your life around that time that maybe you needed some protection? And they can come to you in dreams or actually come to you like a thought in your head to tell you not to do something or to stay away from something. They can give warnings, or they can just come to visit you and let you know that they're all right. But as we'd seen in that left hand, you have a kind of a grouping of guardian angels there around that 12 to 14, uh, actually 12 to 13 area. So we had 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, then around age 15, you've got a guardian angel line that comes up there, a visit or some kind of protection. And that one follows you, clear into your 30s. They're with you. Clear into your 30s. Then we go, let's see, same thing here. Draw an imaginary line down to that line. Right around age 19 to 21, you've got a very strong line. This guardian angel had some interaction with you right around that age range, that 19 to 21. They stay with you all the way, it looks like all the way into your 40s. Kind of watching over you, protecting you. And then we don't see any else there in your 30s. This could be one here in your later 20s, mid to later 20s, possibly. After you've had a chance to go through the reading, why don't you get back to us and let us know if you had any experiences. And we can always go back and revisit this at certain timelines to see if we can see a line we can kind of focus in on that. And if you don't mind, we've got a really interesting guardian angel story that we'd like to tell people. Years ago, when Kat was reading hands, actually it was in Lava Hot Springs, Idaho, in a little boutique there, a little crystal shop. And she had a gentleman in there. He's probably in his mid-50s, and she discovered a prominent guardian angel line that showed in his hand right around age 40. And she asked him what had happened there. That'd be right around in this area. And well, the poor guy got really emotional, and without hesitation, he started to describe how he was sitting home alone one evening, and he's getting a little concerned about where his 16-year-old daughter was. She'd gone out to a high school football game, and she was late getting home, so he's getting concerned. He then talks about how he was sitting in his favorite chair in the living room, and he glanced up at a portrait of his deceased wife that was sitting on the mantel. And he heard a very strong voice, clear as day. She told him that he needed to go out and find his daughter. So he called his sister, and they ran all over town looking for his daughter. And eventually they were guided to this little mom and pop restaurant. And when he got there, he saw his daughter out back, standing out behind the restaurant. And there were a bunch of guys on bikes, and they were riding around her, harassing her, and giving her a bunch of crap. And so he went and grabbed a stick and went out and chased them all off. Well, it turns out his daughter had gone to get some shakes with her friends. And after the game, she made a wrong turn and ended up out back of this restaurant. And now as he's getting his hand read, and Kat was telling the story, his daughter was sitting right next to him. And she's nodding her head in agreement and getting really emotional. And Kat says to her, "Show me your right hand." And sure enough, his daughter had a very prominent guardian angel interaction line right there at age 16. So these lines matched up. Isn't that an interesting story? We hope to publish these guardian angel stories. We've got hundreds of these in a book as soon as we can find time to do it. All right, we're going to move over to your achievement lines. And how these achievement lines work is they come off of your lifeline, and they'll point generally up to this Jupiter or this Saturn finger. Let me get my picture kind of centered there so we can show you that. And we work on the same timeline as we did with the guardian angels. So you can see some little achievement lines here. And these are achievement lines show any kind of achievement that you have in your life, whether it's graduating from school, winning awards, doing anything athletically. They could be getting a new job, getting a promotion in a job, or if you start a business, just anything that denotes any kind of an achievement. As we start over here on the right side of the palm, this is age 10. So 10, 11, 12, 13, you've got some little achievements in there. Then we go 14, 15, 16. So 16, 17, and 18, right in that range. You've got some really big achievements there. And some smaller minor achievements before that. Let's come down here, our imaginary line. That's right around age 20. Looks like in your earlier 20s, you've got some good achievement lines right there. Then as you move into your mid-20s, you've got some smaller achievement lines. These are really kind of hard to see sometimes. The lines in your hands are a little bit light also. And then as you move into your late 20s, into your early 30s, you've got some really good achievement lines there. You can see some right here coming into your late 30s. Now, like I say, when that line starts to break and go down around the palm of their hand, or the palm of your hand, that is right around age 39 and then into your 40s. So as we get down around the palm of your hand at the bottom, you've got some really good achievements here in your 40s. A bunch of little achievements, but you've got some really big achievements coming up here. And then as you move into your mid-40s, into your 50s, you continue to have some really big achievements. Very strong lines. A bunch of little ones, but a lot of big ones too. Generally, when you get right here on the edge of that palm, that's around age 59. But then that moves into your 60s, 70s, and 80s as those lines go around to the side and the back of your hand. And you continue to have a lot of really strong achievements, especially when you get up here into, looks like a little bit later in your 60s. And then you continue to have achievements all the way up into your 70s and 80s. And that's really our most productive time in our life is from our 40s into our 60s. And you've got some good achievement lines. We're going to show you how to tie those together in a minute with the fate line and the money lines also. All right, speaking of the fate line, we're going to talk about that next. And how this fate line works is it starts at the bottom of your hand, bottom of that palm right by the wrist, and it travels up through the center of your palm, up there towards that Saturn finger. And what this represents is changes in your career and lifestyle, and it does show length of life also. We'll talk about that in a minute. But when you see that come up through the center of your palm, that means you're really kind of a private person. We talked about that a little bit earlier. And then when it, if it comes out from the side, it means you're a social person. So you've got a little bit of a combination of lines there on that fate line. Looks like you're a really private person, kind of in your 20s. Then you kind of break out there about your mid-20s, and this line comes up here. And what that follows is a timeline. From your wrist is right around age 20, as that crosses that headline. That is age 40, or right around that age. As that crosses that heart line, that's age 50. And then as it goes up here to that Saturn finger, that middle business finger, that ring around the bottom of the finger is right around age 80. So, let's see, you're 33 years old. So how we can do this is count down. So we generally count down from this headline. So that's age 40. Go about 1/8 of an inch. So it would be 39. You have a little change there. 38, 37, 36, 35, 34, 33. So it looks like things, you had a couple of lines coming up in your your late 20s, early 30s. It looks like things are going to be pretty calm and going along here. This can represent jobs too, and different responsibilities. That looks like you've just got one line going up here. So things go actually pretty stable until you get up here around, let's see, let's count that down, 39, 38, 37, 36. Around age 36, you have some other responsibilities. Now, this could be a job or taking care of someone or some kind of a project or uh, uh, maybe an intense hobby. Different responsibilities. Looks like you've got 3 of those lines. Let's expand that up. That looks like that's just a little hard to see. So it looks like you've got 3 lines that come up here. Then when you hit about age 40 years old, that looks like those 3 lines, a couple of them go up into your early 40s. But then you have a little bit of a change here. And you always want to just count the lines that go up to that Saturn finger. Around age 40, you have a change. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different responsibilities. So that could be a lot of different things. It could be at work and then working on different hobbies, taking care of someone, taking care of kids at the same time. And that goes up here to about age 44, 45. And then that all those responsibilities kind of move down into 3 lines. And that goes up to your 50s. As you hit around 50, 51, 52, then you have a little change there. And this is in your career or lifestyle. Can't really tell you which one it is. They're both interconnected. Then that looks like that kind of settles down there a little bit. You just got the 3 lines that go up here. Then that really settles down in your mid to late 50s. You've just got 1 line. Now, how this works on the timeline at the top is this is age 50. This is age 80. Right about in the center, halfway between is right around 62 and a half. So as you get into your later 50s, early 60s, that really, you just have 1 line going up into your retirement age in this area. And then you have 3 lines here. Actually, you've got 4 lines, but that other one starts a little bit more up into your 70s. And that's just different responsibilities. That could be maybe traveling, hanging out with grandkids, interacting with your family, spend a lot of time with your family. Or it could be projects that you're working on. It's really hard to say what that is, but you've got like 3 or 4 different things going on. Now, when you get up into your 80s here, you have a little change there also. And then these lines, looks like 1, 2, 3 lines. And these go up. Let's see how far these go up. These actually look like they go into your early 90s. So you're going to be very active up into your early 90s. Now, is that how long you're going to live? We've kind of quit telling people, oh, you're going to live to be this or you're going to live to be that. I don't know how accurate those are, but you do have lines saying that you're going to be active into those areas. So, and this goes up into your early approaching your mid 90s. And this is barring any unforeseen accident or illness or anything like that. But you've got a lot of activity going up into those 90s. All right. We had talked a little bit earlier about how we're going to put some of these lines together. And we're going to start right here with the fate line. We talked about how that's your career or lifestyle. And we're going to start right here around your age 33 to kind of see what's going on. Then we'll move up a little bit and you'll find out how we put these things together. So 39, 38, 37, 36, 35, 34, 33. You can see where things are actually going pretty stable there. Maybe a couple of little changes. Then as we go over to your money lines, this was age 20. This is age 45. Right in the center is right around age 32 and a half. So as we look there, that's right there around that 32 and a half, 33 years old. Looks like things are pretty stable. Maybe a couple of little changes there in income streams. That could be maybe a different job or a promotion of a job. It's just changes in your income streams, but it looks pretty stable right there around age 33. We don't see any really big changes until you get up there into your early 40s. So things are kind of running along nice and smooth here. Then as we go over to the lifeline, we want to look in those 30s. Generally, if you come off the top of this thumb, that'll show you right around age 30. Oh, look at right here. So this is right here in your 30s. Let's see, that's right around age 30 there, 31, 32, 33. You have, let me really expand that so you can see it. You have what's called a lucky triangle. That means that you're going to have some opportunities right here in your early 30s that are going to come up. So keep your eyes open, keep your mind open for opportunities. It's a very select time in your life to take advantage of those opportunities. Oh my gosh. That's a nice lucky triangle. So be aware and watch for those opportunities and seize on them when they come up. Yeah, that's a good lucky triangle. Right here. Oh my gosh. So and then in 30s there it shows some success lines. Now let's go to age 40, just to give you a little more example and a little better idea of how these lines go together. So age 40 is on that headline, comes across here, going up this fate line. And that looks like where you've got some big changes, a lot of different responsibilities coming up there. And then as we look on those money lines, it looks like you've got some changes going on there. You have a little bit shift in your money lines, in your income streams. But then as we look down here on your achievement lines, you've got some really good achievement lines coming up in your early 40s. So you're going to have kind of a shift in the way things are going to go in that. But then you've got, like I say, you've got some really good money lines that come up here, especially into your mid 40s and into your 50s and 60s. Some very strong lines. Looks like some good stability in your income streams. So that's how we put all those three types of markings together. Kind of shows you what's going on in your life. It kind of shows you the big picture. Oh, I wanted to show you this marking here. You have what's called the gap right here where your headline and your lifeline come together. They don't actually come together. You've got kind of a gap there. And that's an independent marking. Let me pull up this chart right here. Independent and ambition marking. When you've got that gap right there, it's a good blend. It means you're a very independent person. And I've sent that chart with you that explains that. It's a mark of self-confidence and strong will for one. It shows that you're kind of an adventurous person, a little bit reckless sometimes, a little bit impulsive. And you're kind of a daredevil sometimes. A lot of times we'll see that the gals tend to be a little bit tomboys. They don't like playing with the dolls and all the little princess stuff. They like to get out and ride bikes and play with the guys, climb trees and different things like that. And the wider that gap, and you've got a good wide gap there, the more independent you are. It's the more ambitious you are in nature. And you're actually very intelligent too. Hard workers too. But you think a little more with your head than you do with your heart. You really analyze things before you step into them. So that's what that gap is all about. Okay, I want to show you something here on your right hand. And these are creative achievement markings. Now, how these work, and you've got some good strong ones there. And how these work and what they actually represent is you're going to do something that's creative. Now, whether it's writing a piece of music or painting some art, writing some literature, or inventing something, or inventing a different way of doing something, you're going to be recognized for it. It's a creative achievement. And you've got a little line right here, which is a fame line. So you're going to be a little famous for whatever you do with that. So search your creative mind. If you've had anything in mind that you wanted to do, like maybe write a book or a lot of different things that are creative. Very strong lines here. And you've got several projects that you're going to work on. We were looking the other day at Albert Einstein's hands, and they've got a death print of his hands. You can see the lines really, really well here. And it starts out, there's just a few lines here, but then as it moves up, you've got like 10 or 15 different lines going up in that creative achievement. And you know all the things he did with his theories and inventions and different things. So whatever you do, you're going to be recognized for it. Be a little famous about it too. Okay, I think we've covered everything in the hand. Let's take a look at my notes here, and I think that we have. You actually have some very strong lines in your hands. They go along nice and consistent. You don't see a lot of fussy lines coming off these lines. You don't see any big breaks in there. That lifeline goes down around the palm of your hand nice and consistent. It means you have a good vitality, a good constitution. And you've got a good color to your hand also. It's a nice pinkish color. It's a nice even color. That means in general, good health. And I know that you had mentioned, let's see, an iron deficiency right here. And we think that once you get in there and get that spinal column addressed, get that all realigned, any little problems that you might be having, we found a lot of people, they just kind of disappear. We can't say that that's going to solve all your problems, but it's a good start. Once you get that energy flowing down through that spine and out to the rest of your body, you're going to find that you just feel a lot better. You're going to have a lot more energy, a lot more ambition, and you could see some of these other symptoms go away, or at least be reduced. You got those good money lines. Oh my gosh. We talked about the marriage and children lines. Good prosperity there. Got all these achievement lines. You've actually got a lot of exciting things coming up in your life. Let's see. You had further your career. Yeah, I think that that's going to happen here because you've got some changes coming up there in your mid-30s and especially into your 40s. And you've got mom and happy life. Well, that especially when you get that spine straightened out and you start feeling at your very tip top at 100%, that really makes life go a lot easier. But you've got some good family markings there, so that's going to be well within your future. Yep, a lot of exciting things coming up. Well, we really appreciate the opportunity to help you unlock new elements of your life, and we truly hope that you enjoyed this experience. We wish you a long and successful journey. Thank you so much, and take care.